Hello and welcome to the September 2018 TELedvisors webinar. Our subject today is Meet Your Advisors, who we are, what we do and how we got here. TELedvisors work in a wide range of roles to support technology-enhanced learning and teaching, but until quite recently there have been no qualifications or courses that lead people directly to this job. Sharing our stories and our diverse pathways into becoming an advisor is an important part of understanding and demonstrating the wide array of skills, knowledge and experience that we contribute to our workplaces. Today we have 6 advisors from institutions around Australia sharing their stories. Hyacinth Steele from QUT, Michael Sankey from Griffith University, Lindsay Rattray from Navitas, Marlene Daicopoulos from Murdoch, Jenny James from Griffith University and Tom Worthington from the Australian National University. Our host today is Lindsay Rattray.
And I will share our questions for today, which are what's your current role and some detail there. What do you spend most of your work time doing? What did you do before you were an advisor and how did you get to this position? And then what qualities and skills do you think are important in your job or in our jobs in general? Next up is Michael Sankey from Griffith.
Hey guys, how you going? So my current role. So at Griffith, I'm the Deputy Director Learning Transformations in the Learning Futures Group. Now, the Learning Futures Group is a centralised unit, but there are a whole range of other groups within the schools as well. So we have 4 major academic groups within that, and those each have different numbers of people working as blended learning advisors or curriculum consultants, as we call them at the moment. So my role is in learning transformations, though, is to mediate the, I suppose, the emerging techs. We're moving to Blackboard Ultra as we speak. We've got trial environments in there and are working very closely with the academic groups to get some early adopter courses up at the moment. So that, along with a large rollout of Office 365 in conjunction with Ultra. So big use of Teams, OneNote, OneDrive, Stream and things like that. So looking for some affordances out of Office 365. We certainly have seen that 10 million people use Blackboard around the world, but 4 billion people use Office. So there's a huge difference in terms of when they get out to work, they're not going to be using Blackboard. They're going to be using Office and other tools like that. So it's really incumbent upon us to ensure that there's this flow through of scaffolding from that strict scaffolding that happens in the learning management system early on through to a much more lucid approach towards providing technologies. So I've been doing this. I've been working in universities now for 28 years. I started at USQ back in 1990. I started there as a senior photographer in the media services unit, and so worked as in the media services unit, also photography, graphic design, web design, things like that. So did my Masters of Education, and by 2001, I was then offered the role of an instructional designer. At the time, I was also teaching web design and publishing in the Faculty of Education in the Masters course there, and also in the Faculty of Arts. So it's really been quite an interesting journey just from that early days of visual literacy and understanding how we can offer different things to people who might approach information in different ways, then through to this whole notion of bringing that more into the formal study through my masters and things like that, and then followed that through to my doctorate and things as well. So, so before that, I was the senior photographer there, taught web design, and then through to once I was into instructional design. That was before. That was in the days when we had our homegrown learning management systems. So well before Canvas, Ultra, Moodle, and things like that. So by the time I was starting to do instructional design, we were just starting to roll out the earliest version of WebCT Vista, moving from our homegrown system. So that was an adventure, and it really got me into notion of what a learning management system could do. I was also teaching in Blackboard 4, I think it was at the time. Anyway, I noticed somebody said, why Ultra? That's a good question. It wasn't my decision. But anyway, we won't stop there. It's growing to be quite an interesting tool. And so there's quite a lot of affordances in that tool. Notwithstanding, I was very heavily into Moodle for quite some time and was the deputy chair of the Moodle Users Association. So at USQ, we used Moodle for many years. And so a lot of experience in that open source space as well. How did I get to where I currently am? I got there through being instructional designer, then educational developer, being asked to work on some major projects within the university. So took those and kind of embraced those projects. I had a very supportive couple of PVCs I was working for. That then got me more into the management side of things, but also holding on to that ed tech side of things. So it was mostly around the rolling out of learning management systems, how we are using those technologies to actually enhance learning and teaching. So very much this notion of enhancement. And then, of course, I suppose management went on to manager. I started leading the Learning Technologies Leadership Group, started working with groups like Ascalide, ACODE, KDAD, and things like that. So tried to really work the networking thing quite a lot, which has really helped over the years. I suppose the networking thing and the notion of mentoring has been very important to me. So it's not just so, they say, for those who've been given much, much is expected. And so it's really about giving back to people as well. So, I've done pretty well in this, but it's not about that. It's actually about us working together as a group of e-learning designers, or whatever we want to call ourselves, tech designers, whatever. It's about us working together and allowing us, and through our networks, to just like this, to boost each other and to show each other that some of the tools and techniques that we use. We all work for different universities, but those universities, mostly have their student populations under control. We've got this kind of thing. We think, well, okay, I'm at Griffith and QT's up the road. I've got to be competitive. Well, yes and no. It's more about the we've got distinct programs, we've got distinct ways of doing things, and students have largely decided where they're going to go anyway. Let's just work together a bit more in terms of that instructional design type thing. And the way to do that, I think, is really through some of our networks like this, through Ascalite, and being able to share through our blogs and LinkedIn and Twitter and things like that. So I've been a fairly heavy user of social media over the years, and find that to be a great way in which I can provide not just thought leadership, but thought syndication. So I've been a strong advocate of the thought that, okay, yes, I've got some good ideas, but a lot of my ideas come from other people anyway. And so if I can share those ideas and share other people's ideas, that not only builds me, it builds other people. So thanks, Hank. Yeah, I'm fairly heavy Instagrammer as well. So it is, I think, this notion of thought leadership and thought syndication has been quite strong in my practice, and also the whole networking thing through Ascalite and ACODE and things. So fairly heavily involved also with ACODE in terms of their benchmarking activities. So I helped redevelop the benchmarks, ACODE benchmarks, and also run for them the Learning Technologies Leadership Institute. So that's a great activity, which is an in-depth activity for those who would aspire to be leaders within technology-enhanced learning. So that's running again in August next year up on the Sunshine Coast, and we kind of capped the numbers to 42 on that one, so it's a fairly discrete group, but got some great leaders from around the country in learning and teaching coming to work with us in that. It's a 4-day intensive, and it is intensive. So if you're interested in coming to that, look us up and throw us a line, and I'll send you some information. So I think I'm up.
Great. Thanks, Michael. So far we've had a librarian and a photographer. A question for Michael?
There was just one in the chat. Somebody said, how do they get into that session in the Sunshine Coast?
Okay, so we're right in the middle of putting up the new program, but the old program, if you go to aco.edu.au, on the right-hand side, you'll see a link to ACODE LTLI. You'll find information about the last LTLI. We're just about to update the site to the new one, but you can get to that quite happily from there. So go to ACODE, as somebody's put in the chat there, aco.edu.au. And you can, over the right-hand side, you'll see LTLI, Learning Technologies Leadership Institute.
All right, great, thank you.